Lucy Connolly, the wife of a Tory councillor, has appealed her sentence after she was jailed for 31 months for inciting violence during the race riots last year. Her appeal was denied. In a written judgment, Lord Justice Holroyd said there is no arguable basis on which it could be said that the sentence imposed by the judge was manifestly excessive. The application for leave to appeal against the sentence therefore fails and is refused. During a hearing last Thursday at the Court of Appeal, she said that she never intended to incite violence and did not realise pleading guilty would mean she accepted that she had. Many people, especially on the right, are outraged by this, from saying this is excessive to outright calling her a political prisoner. But note the last sentence in that graphic, right? The court came to the conclusion that she did incite violence, and then she pled guilty on it. She admitted herself during the trial that was the case. Now she's saying, well, I didn't know I was admitting to guilt. So either she had terrible lawyers or she's changed her mind. But regardless, once a trial is completed, you don't get to do do-overs. Now, look, I would say I'm a pretty, pro free speech guy, but this was literal incitement. She called on people to burn hotels with children inside, and some people are trying to twist it that, she didn't say you should go and do it. She just said, I don't care if it happens. But again, as I said, the courts came to the conclusion that she was inciting violence and she pled guilty. She admitted to it. Now, maybe there's a question about the length of the sentence, but what she did was incredibly dangerous. Kevin, I want to get your thoughts on the appeal being denied. I mean, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I this is not surprising to me at all, really. I did, on a personal level, think that the original sentence was possibly a little excessive, but I mean, she is literally the wife of a Tory councillor, and the Tories already did this by changing the idea that law was blind during the 2011 protests, where they threw the book at them completely. There was no nuance here. If you're involved in this kind of thing, you get the kind of maximum type sentences. So I don't think she's got real legs to stand on that one. And of course, what she did was enormously dangerous. She did call directly for violence against migrants, ethnic minorities in these hotels. I don't think she can have a leg to stand on in terms of defending herself on that. And also, the idea that she's now turning around and saying that I didn't understand that pleading guilty would mean I was saying I was guilty is ludicrous. Like, do you take us for fools? Do you take us for children? Like, obviously, you knew exactly what this was. It would have been explained to you by your lawyers, and you're an adult. Just the basic concept of if you plead guilty, that means you are accepting that you are guilty of the thing of which you are accused. Pretty straightforward. It's not exactly a particularly complex jurisprudence on this one. She's got no leg to stand on. In terms of the right wing's reaction to this, it just goes to show you again, as we've I think mentioned many times, that the right wing have this understanding of legality, which is that they want laws that apply to everybody else, but not themselves. They don't want to have to live by the rules. The rules are there to protect them against everybody else and to infringe upon everybody else, but not them specifically. It's the American thing of "don't tread on me," taken literally. Don't tread on me. You can tread on everyone else, just not me specifically. The right wing are genuinely unhinged in this country, and this is a perfect example of it.
I mean, do you think that at the time, given sort of the trial, she may have felt guilty, may have felt like what she did was wrong. So at the time, she pled guilty. And now, ever since, there have been people on the outside calling her a political prisoner and the right wing pushback. Do you think it's almost given her courage to stand up and say, I mean, stand up as if she's not courageous, she's a coward, but I mean, it's given her the confidence to turn around and say, oh, actually, no, maybe I wasn't guilty. Do you think that she was a bit more sincere before? Because obviously, if you're facing trial, you're going to be scared, and maybe she thought maybe I was wrong. But then, of course, since then, you've had the grifters trying to back her up, and maybe she saw that and went, actually, maybe I'm not sorry.
Yeah. Firstly, she should have felt guilty because she is in fact
Yeah.
guilty, pretty damned obviously so. Um, And yeah, there's no doubt that the right wing have used this as a kind of, or tried to make this into a blue touch moment for their culture war nonsense. Because again, anything to avoid talking about economics or material conditions of working class people, of course. Um, yeah, they've tried to use her as a kind of grifting point, and she may indeed herself trying to set up a future grift of her own within this. But in terms of the legality of it, in terms of the actual appeal, as you pointed out, you don't get to do a do-over. You can't change uh, you can't change how you plead after the case. You can change during the case in theory, but you can't do it after the case. You've pled guilty, you accepted therefore responsibility, you get your sentence and you do your time. Very simple and straightforward. They can whinge all they like, but this was handled correctly, and the justice system did its job, albeit imperfectly as always. It did its job basically as well as I think you could realistically hope it to.
To touch upon these right wingers, because you mentioned them, they're so appalled at the assault on free speech. Of course, they've never cared about free speech. You know, the "don't tread on me" was basically "don't tread on me, but we can tread on everyone else." It's
Yeah,
free speech for me, not for thee. Where were they when the Just Stop Oil activists were jailed for 5 years, right?
yep,
Not actually protesting, just talking about a protest on Zoom, which is
yeah,
wild, right?
yeah,
What about the journalists who've had their homes ransacked for speaking up for Palestinians?
yep.
Do you think these same people would hold the same position if a Muslim said something just as egregious?
Well, absolutely not. No, absolutely not. They are massive, massive hypocrites. And again, it's don't tread on me. They want the ability to say absolutely everything with absolutely no pushback, and that doesn't just include legal pushback. That includes any pushback. You'll see this. This is why they have a go at cancel culture or canceling people and all this sort of stuff. They don't just want free speech, as in the freedom to say what you want, and then the other person gets the freedom to say what they want. No, no, no. They want to be as offensive, as disgusting as they want to be, and you can't say anything to them. They want consequence free speech, not free speech.
Fuck around and find out, basically.
Yeah, basically, absolutely, yeah. And it's so rare that you get this kind of middle class white person ever face justice for anything other than the most obvious and blatant, very serious crime. And even then, they often get lighter sentences than other people. And so to see one instance where the kind of quote unquote justice that gets meted out to working class people, to left wing activists, as you pointed out with the Just Stop Oil people, or the ridiculous attempt to try and put terrorism charges on the remember the Colston statue thing in Bristol, just absurd overreaches of the legal system. And you don't hear a peep out of these people. They're
Well,
absolutely fine with all of that, but you get one middle class Tory councillor's wife, and all of a sudden, this is political persecution. This is the gulags 2.0. It's absurdity. It really is. They don't live in the real world, these people.
Well, it feels quite relevant to bring up because my producers just let me know that Kneecap have been charged with terrorism. Liam Ohana, a member of the band Kneecap, has been charged with a terrorism offence for allegedly displaying a flag supporting Hezbollah at a London gig. So allegedly, and it's a flag. Quite a far cry from inciting violence. But yeah, Kneecap, the band or the band member, has been charged with terror offences. I wonder if the same people are going to stand up for Kneecap.
I dare say they will not, because of course, again, they're massive hypocrites. We'll have to wait and see exactly how this kind of comes out in the wash. But I do just want to point out that the week after we were told how terrible it is that Kneecap had threatened members of Parliament, Lee Anderson, the member of Parliament, stood up and called for the violent expulsion of Jeremy Corbyn, the member for Islington North, from the UK. That's fine, though, apparently. Apparently, it's absolutely fine to do that because, again, it's one rule for me and another for thee.
Support independent media, support social justice that's there on social media. Thank you. Turn left.